So in this chapter, along with what we've already learned, we also have some inequalities that we're going to graph. So we are back to graphing today, and we're going to do a couple examples. So these are already in slope-intercept form, which is nice, so we can start graphing right away. But let's write down a few clues here that we learned in our last unit test. What is that symbol right there going to tell us? Two things.
Above and no dotted line.
Yes. So we're going to shade above, and it's dashed, or a dotted line. Okay, what about this one?
Shade below and solid line.
Shade below, and it's a solid line. Perfect. Okay, so let's just get our dots on there with our slope and get all that, and then we'll draw these up. So on this first one, the inequality, we've got a start of 4, so we'll go up 4. And then the slope, where are we going from there? Down 2 over 1. Okay, so we're just going to repeat that. Now this one you told me was a dashed line, so we will do that. And we're going to shade above on that one. So you're just really lightly going to shade this. Don't make it dark. Really lightly shade above the line. Okay, and the other one. This one starts at -3. So we'll go down 3. And the slope here is up 3 over 1. And you told me it was a solid line. All right, this one we're shading below. So again, really lightly, we're going to shade below the line. Now you should have a spot where the shading is overlapped. You see that on your iPad? That is where your answer is. So that's where you're going to darken in to tell me this is my solution space. It's over here where the shading overlapped. Questions on that? Okay, these ones we have to get into slope-intercept form first. So on this one, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then we have to do what? Divide by -1. Okay, when we do that, what happens? Not 7. It's going to flip the sign. So we've got positive y is greater than 2x plus 1. That's our first line we'll graph. And this one, we just have to subtract x. All right, so now we have our 2 lines right here. All right, so if we graph these, do different colors. So this one we will start up 4. And then our slope. Where am I going?
Down 1. Over 1.
Okay, now is a good time to go back before you draw this line because it might be a dashed line. Looking here, what kind of line is it? We've got a solid line on that one because it's or equal to. Shade above or below? Above, because it's greater than. Okay, if you don't want to lightly shade, if it's too difficult on your iPad, you can just draw yourself a little arrow to remind yourself to shade above on that one. And then if we use a different color for this one will start at 1. And this one has a positive slope of up 2 over 1. Okay, is this one dashed or solid. Dotted dashed line. Shade above or below? Above. Okay, the only hard part about the arrows is sometimes it's tricky to see exactly where you're shading, but if you draw arrows on both ends, you can kind of see where your two arrows are pointing at each other. Should we shade on the top, the left, the bottom, or the right of this X? Right here at the top would be where the shading would overlap. Okay, or lightly shading would easily tell you where they're overlapping, especially if you use two colors. Questions there? Okay, we'll move on to the last one then. All right, this one is going to create a triangle, and they want us to state what the vertices are, so where they intersect, right on the corners. So we're going to graph these three lines and then state the corners. All right, so this first one is already in slope-intercept form. So let's get this one on the graph. We'll start at -4. And then we will go down 2 over 1, or the same thing as up 2 and left. It's very important to make sure you repeat your slope on these so you see exactly where they intersect. Looking at all of these symbols over here, are we going to have any dashed or solid? What are we doing? All of them? Okay, so all solid lines. Okay, and is that one shaded above or below? Above, because it's greater than. Okay, so we know we're going to shade above this line. Okay, this next one is not in slope-intercept, but we just have to do one thing first. Divide everything by 4. So I'll rewrite it over here. We've got y is less than or equal to -1/4 x plus 3. So we start at 3, and we'll go down 1 over 4, up 1 over 4. Again, it's a solid line, and shading below on that one, it's less than. And the last one. So we're going to start at -1, and our slope is up 1 over 1. And that one is shaded above. So it looks like we're shading, if we overlapped all of our shading, it would just fill in this triangle right here. Now they want to know the coordinates of the 3 vertices. Okay, so looking in this upper left corner, what's the coordinate right there? -4, 4. Okay, what about this one on the bottom? -1, -2. Now the last one, does it intersect right on a coordinate? No, so we're just going to estimate this one, okay? So looking, what would you say the coordinate is right about here?
3 1/8.
So about 3.1 and what? 2.1? Sure, sounds good. Now the ones you do in your homework are going to land exactly on a coordinate, and this is something that we're going to be using in our next section, which is at 3-4. Okay, we're going to be getting these shapes and then stating what the corners are. Questions?